On today's video, I will talk about a common situation one might experience when dealing with analog front and back ends for digital systems. Most digital systems work off purely positive voltages. For example, this digital to analog converter can only output from 0 volts to 5 volts. However, you might want an actual voltage range of -10 to 10 volts. Let's say this voltage is needed to bias a circuit, but you want this bias to be digitally adjustable. How can we convert the DAC output voltage range to our target output voltage range? We can introduce another block into our system called a signal conditioning block. The goal of this block is to take the DAC output voltage range and scale it to our target voltage range. For example, when VDAC is 0 volts, we want the signal conditioning block to output -10 volts. When VDAC is 5 volts, we want the signal conditioning block to output 10 volts. We need to define a function that converts VDAC to Vout. Let's write the voltage range characteristics for the signal conditioning input and output. The voltage range of VDAC is centered at 2.5 volts. This is commonly called the offset. Vout has an offset of 0 volts. Let's take VDAC and subtract the difference in offsets. Now our voltage range is -2.5 volts to 2.5 volts. The other difference in the voltage ranges is the total range. VDAC has a range of 5 volts, 0 to 5, while Vout has a range of 20 volts, -10 to 10. If we use a gain of 4, we can convert VDAC to have the same range as Vout. Combined with our offset adjustment of -2.5 volts, the gain of 4 maps VDAC to Vout. Now we just need to create a circuit that implements this mapping. That is, to subtract an offset of 2.5 volts and then multiply by a gain of 4. I will talk about one method of doing this using op-amps in today's video. There are other ways to do this with fewer op-amps, but I chose this way as it lets us analyze the offset and gain adjustments separately. This circuit is a bit too complicated for my liking, so let's analyze the left half first. I start the analysis by writing some equations based on ideal op-amp behavior. Note that the Vp equals Vn equation is only true if the op-amp is properly set to use negative feedback, which I'll assume is true. I analyzed a similar circuit in a previous video, but this time I'll solve it slightly differently. First, we can write an equation for Vp, which is a standard voltage divider. Then we can use Ohm's law to write the currents through R2 and R4 in terms of voltages and resistances. Because these currents are the same, we can set them equal to each other. After a few algebraic steps, we can substitute Vp as our voltage divider equation from earlier. Now we have solved the circuit in terms of each resistor and voltage source. If we make one more simplification by setting all resistances equal to each other, we're left with the following equation. If we bring back our target equation, you may notice that if we set Vref to 2.5 volts, we have the offset portion of our target mapping. If we go back to the original circuit, all we need to do now is have the circuit in the box create a gain of 4. The circuit in the box is a non-inverting amplifier. Because V1 is buffered, aka the op-amp has a low output impedance, as well as the fact that the second op-amp has a high input impedance, we can ignore all loading effects. Writing Vout in terms of V1, we notice that if R5 is 3 times R6, we get a gain of 4. Now we have recreated our target scaling function using the circuits shown. If we plot Vout versus VDAC, when VDAC is 0 volts, Vout is -10 volts. When VDAC is 5 volts, Vout is +10 volts. Between those endpoints, the voltage increases linearly. This type of plot is commonly called a VTC, or voltage transfer characteristic. Not all VTCs are linear. In fact, some are highly nonlinear. I could end the video here. We set out to scale VDAC to the target voltage range, but there's actually a couple problems with the circuit shown. In simulation, the circuit will work perfectly, but in real life, the circuit can have 2 issues. Do you know what they are? If you want a hint, the issue lies with the resistors. Going back to our analysis, we set R1 equals R2 equals R3 equals R4. However, real resistances have tolerances, meaning that 2 arbitrarily chosen resistors won't have the same exact resistance. They will be off from the nominal value by some percentage. One way to fix this is to use matched resistors. These resistors come in a set and are matched that each resistor has the same value. There's a chip that does this, the INA-145. If you look closely, you can see the original circuit. R1 through R4 are matched 40 kiloohm resistors, so they are guaranteed to be close in value. The INA-145 has two external gain setting resistors, which lets the user set their desired gain. The second issue is the same symptom, a mismatch in our scaling equation, but comes from the gain setting resistors, previously called R5 and R6, now called RG2 and RG1. If we use standard 1% resistor values, we get a gain of 4.023. This is more than our target gain of 4. Fortunately, if our gain is higher than 4, we can correct for this digitally in our code used to output a value to the DAC. If we scale our set point to account for the increased gain, we can re-achieve our gain of 4. This has the effect of very slightly affecting the resolution of the output, but in this case it has minimal impact. Unfortunately, we still have a problem. What happens if RG1 is 1% high and RG2 is 1% low? Now our gain is less than 4. We can't correct this with our calibration because the DAC physically cannot output less than 0 volts. At 0 volts and our new reduced gain, we can only scale to minus 9.9 volts. Likewise, the DAC can't output more than 5 volts, so we can only scale to 9.9 volts. Here I show the effect of the nominal tolerance of the gain setting resistors on gain. The tilted plane is the gain based on resistor values in the tolerance range. The flat white plane is the target gain of 4. If RG1 is high and RG2 is low, our gain is less than 4. If we assume that the resistor values are uniformly distributed in their tolerance bands, which is a simplification, this has about a 20% chance of occurring. In other words, if you made the circuit in real life and used 1% resistors, 1 in 5 boards would not be able to reach the entire range from minus 10 to 10 volts. This would be a disaster. I know this because this is the exact circuit I used in my precision analog output system for my college senior project. I saw this exact problem and want others to learn from my mistakes. I linked the entire senior project write-up in the description if you're interested. The project involved making automated lab equipment for characterizing circuits, and involved an adjustable 3-channel power supply, digital and analog inputs and outputs, and a 4-quadrant SMU with voltage and current limiting. One way to fix the gain issue is to simply choose RG1 and RG2 such that even in the worst case, the gain is greater than 4. Then you can lower the gain digitally with linear calibration. Another option is to include extra resistors that let you tune the gain to be exactly 4. These extra resistors are commonly called trimmer resistors. Finally, you may ask, why not just use a DAC with an output range of minus 10 to 10 volts? Great question, but I'll leave this question unanswered. If you are interested in learning why, try searching for DACs on Mouser or DigiKey. In your search, see how many DACs can output 0 to 5 volts, and see how many can output minus 10 to 10 volts. Also, observe the price difference and comment your findings below. If you enjoy this type of content, please let me know by subscribing and commenting. Thank you again for watching.